when the sky is high. No reason to stay on ground. Lift your hands and you can catch and fly.
Hello and welcome to the Aviatrix Book Review. I'm Liz Booker. If you had a chance to listen to my recent podcast that I posted about the origin story behind the Aviatrix Book Club, Aviatrix Book Review, and Literary Aviatrix, then you know that I'm working on crafting this narrative around the collective stories of women in aviation so that it hopefully resonates with a broader audience. And in that process, I was introduced to the ideas of Simon Sinek, who has written many leadership and inspiration books, and this concept that great leaders in businesses connect with their audiences not through the how and what they're doing, but through their beliefs and how those beliefs resonate with their audience, basically their why. So as I was reflecting on what my why is, at the core of it is my belief in the power of story. I believe that stories have the ability to inspire and empower, to foster a sense of belonging and connection, and the power to heal. And there are so many media through which a story can be told. And obviously most of what I do revolves around the long form of a book, which is a more immersive experience than just an anecdote or a moment in time. But then we have people telling stories all day, everywhere across social media, and some of those stories are no less powerful. And then there's everything in between, to include poetry. Now, something magical happens when you pair poetry with music. When a song resonates with you, you listen to it over and over again, and you commit that story to memory, and in some cases, that song can be with you the rest of your life. Today, my guest is one of these magicians who pairs her poetry with beautiful music, and who is the artist who created the two songs that I have used for the Aviatrix Book Review and Aviatrix Writer's Room since their inception. In this interview, I share with her what those songs have meant to me, and we get to hear the inspiration behind them and what they mean to her. And be sure you listen to the end when she sings for us. Maya Johanna, welcome.
Thank you. Hi, Liz. It's very nice to be here. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's incredible to meet you. I'm so excited about it, and I'll tell you all about why in just a bit. But can you take some time to introduce yourself to my audience?
Sure, even though it's really always hard for me to do this. But so my name is Maya Johanna. I'm a singer and a songwriter, and I live in Israel. I've been very lucky to be making music with some of the most amazing people around me, and I'm just happy to see how things are moving and reaching people that I couldn't even imagine and think of.
Well, I am so grateful to have found you, and I want to share a little bit about how I found you and what these two songs that I have been using for my Aviatrix Book Review, both my main one that is about books and then the other one, which is about writing, over the past 2 years. So when I knew I was going to start doing these interviews of authors that feature books with women in aviation, I knew that I wanted to both interview just about the book and talk about writing, and I knew I needed music, and so I did all the research for what music can you legally use, and I ended up on Artlist.io, and I was really discouraged at first. I knew I wanted something sort of upbeat and empowering. I didn't want sort of the electronic elevator music that they have on there as my theme song. And, that discouragement only lasted for a little while because I think I probably was searching for flying or for sky. And I came across this song of yours, When the Sky, and I couldn't believe it. I was so thrilled to not just have sort of this, upbeat, empowering music, but for it to be this beautiful woman's voice, for sure. That was one of the things that I really wanted. And then when I listened to it, I was like, you have got to be kidding me, because the lyrics are just so perfectly matched with everything that I do, have done, and want this to mean to people. And then I started listening to your other songs, and I came across this Born to Become, and I was like, I can't believe there are two perfect songs. So I purchased the license, which I am so grateful that you were willing to share it with the world that way, and that it gets to reach this whole other audience. And so I'm going to share what they mean to me. And then I can't wait to hear from you, your inspiration, kind of the process of writing them and what they mean to you. And so I'll start with When the Sky, because, I think this song has really big, broad appeal, because to me, like in the big metaphorical sense, it's about pursuing your dreams and using your own gifts and not allowing other people's expectations of you to limit you. And that when you do this, you then become an inspiration to other people. So that's sort of like the big overarching theme that I heard when I listened to it. But then there's this very literal part of it. Like the words actually fit so perfectly with the dream and the journey of pursuing something that is still very unique, unfortunately, because women only make up 8% on a good day of pilots in the United States anyway.
Mhm.
And aside from like the obvious lyrics, like when the sky is high, there's no reason to stay on the ground. Like that's obvious, but it starts with this, this building the courage to pursue that dream. But, if you take one step, you'll be closer than if you stay where you are. And then it builds toward the end of the song, the idea that if you do pursue your gift and you're guided by that, then you become a guide yourself. And like that, I get goosebumps just talking about that, because that's so representative of the journey. When you do the hard work and you achieve your goals, it's almost universal in my community that we are reaching behind us to guide other women in their pursuit of their dreams. It's just gorgeous. Oh, and then it ends with this repeating refrain of take the courage, take the strength, take resilience, and keep on moving. I was like, oh my God, this is the best song ever. So that's what that means to me. And then this Born to Become, to me, I mean, I am writing fiction, so really exploring. And I've always been a creative person, but this is a special kind of creativity. And for me, that song is all about creativity and inspiration, and like grabbing onto that inspiration and not letting it go, and nurturing it so that it can become what it was meant to be. And all of the lyrics, from my perspective, represent that. So that's what those songs mean to me. I would love to hear from you, your inspiration behind them, how you wrote them, and what they mean to you.
Well, first of all, I'm with tears in my eyes because I I just feel like, first of all, you really got it. Like I don't know if I can really say any more, because I feel, well, first of all, I feel honored that this has reached you and that it touched you in this way, because I think as creators, I think the process sometimes can be a little lonely. And when you go through it, until this creation is out into the world, and until take that actual step, sometimes it's easy to believe that you're either crazy or just the only person that feels this way. And you know and so yeah, so first of all, I just wanted to say thank you. This for me is such a amazing feedback, just that, it touched you this way. For me, the process of writing these songs was pretty amazing. I was at a time where I was I knew that I wanted to write some songs, and I needed someone to just kind of like put me in this space where I'm going to like have no other option but to do so. And so I have this tendency to put myself into places where I'm going to have to do things. Oh, and by the way, I have to, first of all, also like disclaimer, I have a very good American accent. However, my vocabulary is not as like great as I wish it to be. And so sometimes if I like, stumble upon some words, it's, it's just me trying to find the accurate one.
Well, first of all, we appreciate and respect that you can speak more than one language, especially those of us who cannot. And you have done just fine with your vocabulary in your songs, so you're forgiven.
Thanks. No, and to have a writer, I mean, also, give me this feedback on my songs is also very, very moving. So thank you. So I found someone who put me in this, he gave me a deadline and he said, okay, you have to come back in a couple of months with a few songs and just write your experience. And with When the Sky, I just remember having this excitement of knowing that I'm about to take a step that I didn't think that I would take until that point. And I just had this, I was like giddy and frisky about it. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to take this one step, and I don't know what's going to happen, but it's going to move me closer to where I want to be, which is singing my songs and performing with them. And I remember just being kind of like, I was like laying in my bed and I had this like beat come into my mind. And with both these songs, it's interesting. I didn't write them like playing the guitar or the piano or something. I just like, I started singing them because it was like more of like a chant that felt like it was coming out without any specific harmony or something. It just like came out of me. And I felt like it was interesting. It was both of them just kind of like came through me. And afterwards, I remember when we finished recording and everything, I was like, I did this process with a woman that describes herself as a creative guide. And what she does is she meets with artists and people who, want to go through the process of creating something and want to have a guide with them to help them through this process, to understand it, to like appreciate it in more ways that you can appreciate when you're in the process of creating. And I remember us sitting together and like breaking down the lyrics, and I was like, I wrote this thing. I just felt like it came through me, like I channeled it and I didn't even really, you know what I mean? Like process how much it meant to me as I was writing it, like how, and I think, that's, first of all, that's like my favorite thing about being an artist is just being a vessel when I can reach that place. And maybe as a human in general, just being a vessel to like do magical things that I don't know how they are possible. And I mean, side note, when I look at you and just the idea of flying in general is something that is not something, it's very strange to me in terms of like, I am not familiar, with like flying anything except for maybe as a kid, I like believed that I could hover or like a few feet over the ground, but
Me
that
too.
was it, like I've never had like this. I can only imagine what it feels like to sit, inside this, a helicopter or a plane or something, and just like have that feeling of soaring over the ground, and like that is something that I can't even grasp. So to me, I mean, even that is like, that's like so magical.
Well, it's very
And
empowering, and that's the other thing too. Like with the song, it is so empowering, and like this journey in the song is a lot about empowerment, like you're talking about. You're taking a step toward your dream. It's you're finding your power. Well, it's a very similar thing,
mhm,
you know, to operate a complicated machine like that and be
mhm,
proficient at it and good at it
mhm.
is very it translates to so many other things in your life. Like it gives you so much confidence in so many other
Yes.
things. Yeah.
I mean, it makes me want to go, yeah, fly something.
Cool.
I mean, I don't
Do we have
know.
a
I
convo?
don't know. Oh my God. Oh my
Keep
God.
us updated on that.
Yeah.
Keep us updated.
But no, I'm too scared. I don't know. But maybe I'll come fly with you one day.
Oh, just hold on. You stand on a stage in front of how many people and
Oh yeah.
sing and perform them,
Yeah.
and you're afraid to go. Well, yeah, no,
Yeah.
I don't believe it.
I think it's interesting how every person has like something that they, feel like is more natural to them, and other things that are just like, there is no way that I can do that. And it's,
Yeah.
yeah, it's interesting. But so going back to the process of writing it, I just had like this, um the basic form of what it kind of came out as when I first wrote it. And then afterwards, I tweaked it a little bit, obviously. And I remember when I finished the whole thing, I felt like I wanted another part, to just like to get like pumped up with the idea of like taking this step. It just felt like it needed like this extra little part. Um, and that's when I added the like that chant at the end, the mantra of like,
Mm-hmm.
um, keep on moving and take courage. And
Yeah.
yeah, I think I wrote it. I wrote it for myself, and just like as I wrote there, when you follow your gift and do something, even if it's for yourself, you end up inspiring other people to do the same. Um, so
Absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah.
and
And then
with
how about the Born to
the Born
Become?
to Become, it's exactly that. I was listening um, to an interview. I feel terrible we're not remembering the name who it was with, but maybe I'll remember later. Um, and yeah, she was talking about inspiration and how like how it came to her, ideas. And I connected to that feeling of having it being so elusive. And I I started thinking, well, what does it feel like for me to meet an idea, to have inspiration like visit me? And at that time, I felt like it was almost like like you're approaching an animal, and you want it to like not be afraid of you, and to just like come near it and be, have it feel secure enough to not run away too quickly, and allow it to have this like bond with you and play with it a little bit. And yeah, and that also, I mean, I feel like it keep talking about that same idea in each one of the verses, just in a different way. And exactly as you said, it's like sometimes I felt like it, just as much as I needed inspiration to write my songs, maybe inspiration needs me to
Ah,
to show itself, to show like a gift or to become. And that all I have to do is, be there and be present and collaborate with this idea or something and have it come through me and just let it be just the way that it was supposed to. Um,
is
yeah.
it possible that you were listening to Elizabeth Gilbert?
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah, so I talk a lot about her. I love her book. She's the author of Eat, Pray, Love, but the
Yes.
book Big Magic is the
Yes.
one in which she talks about ideas
Exactly.
being living beings floating around the world, just looking for somebody who wants to birth them. And that's
Exactly.
exactly like what I heard with the song too. That's so great. Oh
Yeah,
my
yeah.
gosh.
That was the inspiration for how this song started. Definitely.
I love that. So, well,
Yeah.
that makes it even more perfect that I was able to find it and match it with this thing that I've been doing. Oh man. So tell us a little more about your background and then I want to get to what you're doing now, but like so I don't know how much of your music is available here in the States or on YouTube. And I also want you to tell me what genre you think it's in, because what I
Oh,
loved about it is that it's sort of its own. Like I
wow.
saw somewhere here in the States when I was looking you up that it was categorized as country. And I was like, no, this is not country. Folk, maybe. There's like
Yeah.
a folk thing to it. But so what genre is it? And then I saw that you did a lot of covers for a
Hmm.
long time before you
Right.
started doing your own music. So tell us about that journey.
So I started singing when I was a teenager, which is pretty late. I mean, in terms of like how some of my colleagues started, maybe, like singing when they were a lot younger and playing the instruments and stuff. I did play some instruments, but I got into singing just by mistake, sort of, and just like all good things in my life. And I realized that I was pretty good at it and that I liked it, and so I started pursuing different things. And I was born and raised in Israel, so I went to the army for 2 years as a singer, and then
Oh,
I went to study music, and then I started, you know, being part of different groups and bands, and kind of like searching for my voice. And I grew up at my mom's originally from Cleveland, so I grew up speaking English at home. But I've always lived in Israel, so um, yeah, so like I always felt like I was like I belonged in both places. I always felt like I'm at home in the United States and the same in Israel, but I've never lived in the States. And so yeah, like I feel the longest that I've been there was probably like a year in total. And so sometimes I'm also not sure, just like you said, like how much my music is available over there and here. Like I'm not really sure like how it works in terms of um, the differences between the markets and stuff like that, and how much is it's possible to reach other countries. But today everything is it's just so
yeah,
small and possible, so that's
yeah.
amazing. But anyways, what else? So I got into like singing a lot of country and folk music when I was in my early 20s, and I think I automatically felt at home because it was like this is like my language, that this is like the music that maybe my mom and my grandparents grew up on or knew more. And so even though I didn't grow up like listening to a lot of folk and country music, I immediately just felt at home singing these songs, which I accidentally got to performing with. So that is like several years where I did a lot of American folk music, and realized that I am very much inspired by that sound by, the storytelling, the types of instrumentation, just the energy. And so there's definitely a lot of like folk and country influences in my music. And that's how I got into, when I was, just like kind of went with the flow, and somehow I had this opportunity to start writing my songs because I was collaborating with someone who was smart enough and to tell me that I need to like do my own music, because at that point I just didn't, I wanted to sing, but I didn't really know if I was a songwriter. I didn't believe in it, and I didn't give myself credit for it. And I thank him very much, Son, my producer, that he really insisted, and he said, why don't you go sit for a couple of months and come back when you have some new songs that you wrote. And that's how that, my first album was born. And it has that, also that magic of realizing that I'm a singer-songwriter and that I'm writing my own songs now, and I'm excited about it. And this is so magical and fun. I like that about that album. And so
how does it do in Israel? Like, I don't have a concept of how, like, what your relationship is with the Israeli audience.
yeah, so I can definitely say that it did reach, some audience here in Israel. Not Israel is, the market here is a lot smaller. So to reach, a certain amount of audience is easier, I feel like, than it is in the States, probably because everything is bigger. And however, through the Artlist platform, I feel like my music has been able to reach a wider audience. And it's interesting the places that it has reached. Like, I think, that is what is magical about and so amazing about the world that we're living in these days. And how, I mean, what are the chances that you would have heard of me otherwise? Like, it's really interesting, because I'm just like an independent artist, and I don't have like any big label behind me or something like that. And so it's a real gift to have my music like reach like all these new audiences that I could have never imagined, really.
That's
So
amazing.
yeah.
So do you perform so I know that we just went through COVID, and I'm sure that had an
Right.
effect on you. And I saw, like you mentioned, Cleveland, and now it makes sense because I saw that at some point you performed in Cleveland.
Right.
And I wanted to ask, like, when are you coming to the States to perform for us, and when can I
Oh
come
my
see you in
God.
person?
Oh, that would be a dream. I did like a little mini tour just after I released the album, and went to a few places that I knew that I had some audience. And it was very small. It was just me and a guitar player, and we did a few shows and attended some festivals. And yeah, it was cool. I would love to do it again. I mean, I'm currently releasing some music in Hebrew, which is obviously different from what I did in my first album. And some of it was actually, I I realized that I was going to be in Israel for a while. And this is also like related to COVID, because I stopped performing all at once, and we weren't traveling and doing things as we used to. And I was in the midst of working with a friend on a new project, and we were thinking about, what we're going to do. And he offered to write a few songs for me in Hebrew. And so we created this EP, which has 5 songs in Hebrew. that he wrote that are also very folky and I'd say like acoustic, very nostalgic. They have like a vintage vibe to them. And those songs were more like inspired by maybe like Israeli folk music from like the 60s and 70s as well. And yeah, and I'm working on more projects and writing new songs and hoping that I'll get back to performing regularly again because I haven't been since since COVID. It's been a huge change for me. Yeah.
What are your biggest, wildest artist dreams?
I have a dream of performing in a very big cathedral. I have this like dream of like being in a space that is just like the sound is very big and maybe I don't need like a lot of sound equipment and stuff like that, and just having that energy of people like around me. And I think I just want to sing, like, you know what I mean? For me, it could be like at somebody's house, and it could be in like a big cathedral, and it could be the fact that I know that there's another person that's listening is like, that's like enough for me,
Would you sing a little bit right now?
Ooh, okay. What should I sing? What should I sing? Maybe I'll sing a part of one of those songs. I hope you can hear me well, though. Okay. If you take one step, then you will be a little closer to your dream than if you stay just where you are. Keep that chin held up and fight your battles with your feet and are both there. You'll find a path that has your name. Here I am, I'm ready to go again, ready to say goodbye when the sky is high. No reason to stay on ground. Lift your hands and you can touch it fly. The minute you felt you found, understand that you can have it all. The wings are in your soul.
You got me in tears over here. Oh. Your voice is gorgeous. And that is just a beautiful song. And it's a gift to the world and especially to my community and to me. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this. I'm so grateful.
Thank you for reaching out. I feel blessed that you contacted me and found me and my songs. Thank you.
I don't know why I waited so long to do it. I had fantasies about doing it the moment I heard the song. And then it took me almost 2 years. I don't know. It was like, oh, she's a big artist and she doesn't have time for me. I'm nobody. And then I finally had the confidence to do it. And I'm so glad I did. And I'm so glad you said yes.
Of course. Of course.
And here I am, I'm ready to go again. I'm ready to say